Welcome back to Okano's Kitchen. And today we're going to start again with my favorite samurai bread. I love samurai bread. As you can see, I'm wearing it on my head in my hachimaki. We're going to make samurai bread today into rolls. So same mixture that you just mix with hot water and let it rise for an hour. Now we're going to put it into these very well greased muffin tins. And the thing that I love about making it into rolls is you get the crust all the way around. And we're going to have fun playing with toppings on the bread in the rolls. Perfect. Okay. Just remember to have some warm water on hand because it's so sticky. And it just makes it so much easier. As you can see, I can now get the dough off my fingers quicker and right into these greased muffin tins. You don't have to be too picky about how much you put in. It'll just mean that the rolls will rise a little more, a little less. No problem. Anybody can be a baker. Just go to my website and order your own kit because it's, I think, a must-have in everybody's pantry, samurai bread. There's so many different uses, you won't be sorry. All right, so we've filled these muffin tins with the bread. Now what we're gonna do is play a little bit. I've chosen some kalamata olives, some fresh rosemary and sage. And we're just gonna make little pockets in the bread. I just made this the other night for the first time, actually, and it was really good. So I'm just gonna stuff some olives in there. Look how fun that is. And you can just, I mean, my kids, when they were little, would have loved to do this if I had figured this out earlier. Stuff those in, olives. You could do any kind of olives, you could do any kind of herbs, but today I'm doing the kalamata. And then the bread's just gonna rise around all of that. Look at that, and stick it in, because they'll fall out otherwise. So poke that right in. It's very forgiving dough, as you can see. Then I'm gonna sprinkle with some rosemary, freshly cut, because I love rosemary and olives together. Then I'm going to eat a fresh sage leaf and stick that in too. Why not? Just for fun. I'm going to actually make these at my son's wedding in September to have. Wouldn't these be pretty at a wedding or a party, a summer garden party? Just so festive looking and already cut so you wouldn't have to cut the loaves. Lots of crust, and voila, samurai bread rolls ready for the oven. And today along with our rolls, the centerpiece is what I call High Madras Chicken Curry. And the reason why I call any of my meals Mountain High is because they've been tested at our company, Jackson Hole Mountain Guides, to basically make fresh, freeze, vacuum seal, and take up into the mountains. So that means, you don't have to be in a mountain. You can be in your own kitchen, your own base camp. But this is a kind of meal that, because it's saucy, it can be frozen. Or you could have it in the freezer for up to 3 months and eat it whenever you need it. So Mountain High chicken curry with currants and toasted almonds. And then for sides, we're gonna have a little wild rice and a fresh raw broccoli salad with lots of veggies, edamame and peppers and cabbage, and a spicy miso dressing. And for dessert, we're gonna finish off with creme brulee. All right, let's get started. Okay, before we start with our main meal, we're gonna get these babies into the oven at 350 in a cold oven. Stick them in, turn it to 350. There we go. So I'm thinking that what's going to go really nicely with our chicken curry is a raw broccoli salad with lots of vegetables. This has edamame, red pepper, a little bit of cabbage and broccoli, raw broccoli. And then this dressing, which I actually love to have always in the fridge, is made with white miso, which is a Japanese ingredient made from soybeans, fermented soybeans. And I'd actually love to learn more about miso because it's considered an art form making in Japan. I mean, people have their own recipes for making miso. But it gives you that kind of umami taste, that other sense that really adds oomph to your flavors. So this one has miso, vinegar, honey. You can get the whole recipe in my cookbook. So I'm gonna just dump that on, and the more that you let this sit, again, the better. So you're gonna pour that in. This would be great on a picnic. It's fine just sitting in your refrigerator on your counter until you're ready to serve your meal. So I'm just gonna mix that in. And be creative with the veggies you use. If you don't like raw broccoli, maybe you want raw cauliflower. And if you don't like red cabbage, you could add green cabbage. You could also add a little bit of onion, but I didn't in this particular recipe. So I'll get that nicely coated and just let that sit. This is a great vegetarian side, but anybody would love that. My kids even like broccoli when I make it with this dressing. So I'd highly recommend adding it to your repertoire. Now I'm gonna get going with the chicken. So as usual, I have a lot of things going on in Okano's kitchen, but we're gonna get started with our main course chicken curry. I have my wild rice over here in my little mini rice cooker to serve with the curry, but I have cut up actually a combination of chicken breast and chicken thighs and into little cubes, and I've added a little bit of flour, and I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and some pepper before I fry it up. So I've got my pan over here with just a little bit of olive oil and some vegetable oil, and I'm going to fry these chicken pieces up on a high heat because you kind of want them to develop a crust. And while that's cooking, I've got my onions over here, and they are basically just onions and a little bit, like a couple cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to saute those until they soften up a bit, so maybe 3 or 5 minutes. And the chicken I'm just going to leave, make sure that each piece is going to get cooked and browned. And I'm going to check my samurai bread rolls, which are smelling pretty good right now. Oh, let's take a look. Yeah, see how they're puffing up? They're so fun looking. The rosemary I can smell, and the kalamata olives. So that's going to be another 15, I guess. And then we're going to cook up this chicken. We're going to wait a minute. That's going to take a few minutes. I can always tell when something cooks because it starts to smell. You know, you get that cooked chicken smell. So I'm going to take my spatula and just kind of loosen that up. You don't want to stir this too much because you'll prevent it from nicely browning, because you want the chicken, the flour will help make a little bit of a crust on the chicken pieces. So I'm just going to be it's always tempting to stir things too much, and in this case you really just want to let it cook, be patient, which is really one of my challenges in life. That's why cooking is so good for me, because if you do things too quickly, you often make a mistake. But that's why cooking is also forgiving, because sometimes when you make a mistake, you create something new and different. So here we go. The chicken is browning really nicely. You don't want undercooked chicken, but see that nice crust that we get? Yum. Smells good. I love homemade recipes because I always think of the people that gave me the recipes while I'm cooking. In this case, it was my mother, Sumiko. And she liked to use Madras Chicken Curry. Madras curry, different from regular curry, just has a little bit more spice. Don't want any pink. You don't have to worry about totally cooking the chicken through because it's going to cook in the sauce. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start taking these out. Just put it in a bowl, a separate bowl. I added also a little bit of butter. You can use real butter or plant butter to just help it brown up a little bit more and to season it. Now there's going to be kind of a crust in the bottom of the pan, but you're not going to worry about that because you're going to loosen it up with the broth in just a minute. So we're going to take all those chicken pieces out, nice and brown. Ooh, we got some nice brown pieces. You can keep the heat on. Maybe I'll turn it down just a little bit. Because now we're going to toast the curry just a little bit. I might add in just a little bit more butter, maybe another tablespoon of butter. Then I'm going to get my curry. Yum. And just toast that just a little bit. And while that's toasting, just for a few seconds, I'm going to add in some of this yummy hot, I like to use hot mango chutney, you don't have to. But I like to put probably a couple of tablespoons of that chutney in. Okay, so that's gonna loosen up the butter in there. Now you can, again, it's ready. Now you can really smell the fragrance. So it's time to dump the chicken in with the juice. Now that will start to loosen up those nice brown bits that are gonna add to your sauce. Now I'm going to add in my chicken broth. Turn the heat up a little bit. And I'm going to let that kind of cook again for a few minutes. The flour that you dredged the chicken in is going to thicken up the sauce. Cook that. Now I'm going to add the onions back in. Now I usually cover this and let that simmer. I can smell everything coming together at once. I can smell the wild rice is almost ready. That chicken is definitely ready. I can see that the sauce is thickened up really nicely. I'm gonna just taste it, make sure, because at this point is when I would add some lemon juice. I'm gonna taste it. Yum. Okay, but it definitely needs a little acidity, so I'm going to put some of that lemon juice in. And just be careful with lemon juice because you can't go backwards. You can add it, but then you can't take it out, which is something that I sometimes mess up with. A little more. Then I'm going to add in this coconut creamer because I don't eat dairy, but you can use regular half and half, but something that has a little thicker than just regular milk. I'm going to add in about a half a cup. Make that nice sauce. Okay, now I'm going to taste that again. Okay, we're getting there. Now I've got these slivered toasted almonds, so I'm going to put those in. They're optional, so if you have a nut allergy, you don't have to use those. And I like to use currants instead of raisins because they're littler and they're not as, I don't know, smushy as raisins sometimes. So they just have I like the consistency of currants. You can find those next to the raisins. And there, we're pretty much done. I mean, it might need a little salt, but it's kind of up to you. I like to let people salt their own meals. Might as well use those currants. And now I can smell the samurai bread rolls are ready to come out. Oh, they look so happy. Happy and ready to eat. Look at these cute rolls with samurai bread mix. The fresh rosemary and the kalamata olives. Hopefully I grease the pans enough so they'll come right out. Those are ready. And we're ready to plate it up. Sumiko, my mom's Madras Chicken Curry. Oh, that smells good. My wild rice is ready. Wild rice takes longer, and it also takes twice as much liquid, but it has a wonderful consistency that I'm gonna love eating with this Madras Chicken Curry. Look at those almonds and the currants. Beautiful sauce from the chicken broth and the chicken juices and the coconut milk. I'm going to serve that with my cold broccoli salad, and look at these adorable samurai bread rolls that will be so delicious, ripped apart and dipped into this sauce. You got to make sure you get a lot of sauce on that. And to finish it off, we're going to have creme brulee. Now, I didn't show you how to make that from the beginning, but please make sure to look for my cookbook that's going to be produced very soon, and it'll have all the recipes from Eat This TV, these Eat This TV episodes. All 12 episodes will be in the book. So here is my family recipe for creme brulee, which you kind of think is one of those recipes that, oh, I could never make creme brulee, it's so hard. But it's actually quite easy. It's basically mixing 2 different creams, eggs, brown sugar, and baking that in the oven. You actually bake this dish in a pan of cold water. That's the key, on a low temperature. And then you sprinkle with, I should have used a blowtorch, but you don't really need one. As long as you evenly sprinkle the brown sugar over the top, you put this under a broiler and it'll make this nice, you can kind of hear that crust. It's so, classic for creme brulee. I'm just going to take a little spoonful. And look how yummy that is. Oh, wow. This was my father's favorite dessert, so I always think of him when I make this, because we had cows and we got our own milk from the cows, so we usually would use our own milk and cream from Vermont. So Dad, this is your creme brulee. I miss you. Thank you for joining me, Okano's Kitchen. All of my recipes can be found, as I said, in my cookbook. Join me again next time. Thank you.
Welcome to the Mountain Guides. They operate 5 mountain guiding companies in the American West. The Mountain Guides of Utah, the Mountain Guides of Red Rock, the Mountain Guides of Montana, the Mountain Guides of Colorado. Their flagship operation in Jackson Hole is based in Jackson and leading trips all over the high peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Join their custom mountain adventures led by experienced guides in the iconic destinations. For more information, log on to themountainguides.com.